Good afternoon on what is a mild, grey and overcast day. It is Wednesday, the 15th of September. We've got a nice hot cup of tea and a box to continue delving into. So what I've got is all of these, or all of those, which are various scenarios for Old School Essentials, published by Necrotic Gnome. So I am going to pull out the next one. So what I have done so far is I've looked at the Hole in the Oak. Really quite like that one. The next one I'm going to pull out, as it's the simplest, is Halls of the Blood King. This is by Diogo Nogueira, who is a Latin American and Brazilian author who's done a lot of his own mini role-playing games and titles, especially in the in the old school Renaissance side of the hobby. But here he has been invited to create a scenario for what is essentially the leading retro clone Old School Essentials. And this is an official adventure scenario, therefore. Now, Old School Essentials is essentially basic Dungeons & Dragons, but it's not based upon the Holmes version or from 1977 or the Back Me version done by Frank Menzer. It's the BX version by Tom Mulvey and Stephen R. Marsh, known as the BX version, which came out in 1980. And if you've ever looked at a copy of Old School Essentials, it's very well produced. It's very well organised. Everything you need is kind of broken up into two-page spreads, particularly like the classes. And so, for example, you want your fighter, all the details of your fighter, or your elf, or your halfling, and so on. They're all on two-page spreads. Really accessible, really easy to use, and it's accompanied by some great artwork. And I have no doubt that this kind of format, or not necessarily the format, but at least the quality and the look is going to be carried on in Halls of the Blood King. So, Halls of the Blood King, let's have a look. With the rising of the Blood Moon, the accursed abode of the Blood King returns to this world. The Lord of all vampires comes to claim the blood that is owed to him. The halls contain treasures and secrets that would make any ambitious adventurer abandon reason and caution to seek them out. Will you risk your soul for gold and glory in the Halls of the Blood King? A fantasy horror adventure for characters of 3rd to 5th level. Requires Old School Essentials, Classic Fantasy or Advanced Fantasy. The difference, Classic Fantasy, by the way, it really covers the classes and races available in the BX version of Dungeons and Dragons. So it does warrior, fighter, cleric, wizard and or magic user and thief, and then elf, halfling, dwarf. Okay, it does race as class. The advanced adds the options for paladins, rangers, illusionists that really came in with advanced Dungeons and Dragons, in particular with definitely 2nd edition, but really sort of late on in the sort of like history of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1st edition. So it includes those, so it works with both. But here we have the floor plans of the Halls of the Blood King. So very nice and simple, clear, and also the crypt underneath, and a blood spider court presumably beneath that. And what we've got here essentially is, my first impression is sort of like, okay, we can't do I'm not going to say this is an exact replica because that would be ridiculous, but okay, you can't do Castle Ravenloft, I6 Ravenloft, probably the most famous scenario for Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, for Old School Essentials, but let's do something similar. So we're going to open up with table of contents, introduction about the adventure, explains what Old School Essential is, and the requirements in terms of character level 3 to 5, and then campaign setting. Before we get into the adventure overview, and we've got essentially a quick overview, various NPCs and monsters involved, dungeon factions and relationships. Nice, clear, simple layouts, easy to read. and then we have hooks to get your player characters involved if treasure isn't enough, and then unanswered mysteries which remain, which they can answer as part of their exploration of the halls of the Blood King, and a rumours table. Table of treasure, and then it discusses vampires, and then vampires for old school essentials, including alternatives to energy drain, because energy drain is such a powerful ability, you know, literally ripping levels away from a player character, and in the process, all that time and effort. It's literally such an incredible punishment for, you know, players having gained all that time and effort, put it into the game, and then get it taken away by a monster. And then we have random happenings, and then putting pressure on the player. So basically, after 6 hours in game time, after 10 hours in game time, there will be events which trigger and so on. So, like the early, I'm just to show you essentially what. I'm going to go back to Hole. So there's Hole in the map, and if you turn over the page to the first location, it does that. It uses an excerpt from the main map there for easy reference by the referee, and this does the same. So there we go. There we've got the full map. But you flip over to the first location, Manor Grounds. You've got the Manor Grounds excerpt from that map on the page for easy reference, where the referee can see it. So really kind of easy. So essentially facing at the biting gate, trying to get through the vine fence and so on, and finding a hole in the fence. And these are all to be found here, you know. And then we actually get essentially gaining Garden of Roses, and then we've got gaining entry to the mansion. You've got the fuller, more open area of before the house, between the vine hedge and the house itself, and then we get into the first floor. We've got an overview. Entry hall, first floor corridors, guards rooms, and so on, and then individual locations as we go through. So it's using this format, fantastic illustrations, quite weird house. I mean, you know, that's just have a fantastic sense of scale to that. That's just one room, you know. You should be awed by that. You know, they've got the mouth and this thing staring down at you, and then, you know, outside you do have the adventurers sort of like standing before this strange castle. You know, which is almost like something out of Melniboné, you know, Eric's castle in the Young Kingdoms or something like that. It's almost more Cockian. So yeah, locations like the dining room, pantry, various areas throughout. But the artwork is fantastic. And then we have the Blood Spider Court with the Blood Spider Queen again. Lovely illustrations, really kind of ominous, rich, and you know. Then we have we have a bloodbath. You can see the blood sort of just spilling from that, and that's, again, you don't see the, you know, it's not there in all its gory detail, gory glory, but it's there, and there's enough there to really kind of get the idea across. And then various NPCs, dungeons there, so down to the dungeon as well. You can get a secret conference room where you encounter the Princess of Blood, and you even have a trophy room with eyes, yeah, and even a bar. Area descriptions for the second floor, shorter, simpler, because it's a location. And then we have the Blood King studio and the King's Hall for himself. And then the King's Chamber, where you actually will meet the Blood King. Okay, so I'm rounding this out. We have the Princess's Chambers, and I was just flipping through more details on the dungeon, including your torture chamber and concluding the adventure. And then at the back we've got a random happenings table plus the vampire traits list. So that's Halls of the Blood King for Old School Essentials, an official adventure scenario by Diego Noguera, which you can use with Old School Essentials or the retro clone of your choice. But yeah, looks to be fantastic. It looks sort of like gothic horror affair, twisted with blood and a little bit of weirdness as well. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please click on the like button down below. And of course, you've got any comments or feedback. Appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a parcel from which I will unbox a book or game and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do click on that like button down below. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.